Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts today, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. We're doing a little Week 10 primetime preview, if you will. Little dab of the Sunday, Monday night football. And then we're going to also chit-chat about our locks for the week. We'll discuss that when we get to it, because it's not pretty. That's just where I'll leave it.
Horrendous.
You know, I try to do my best to be 3-0, but you can't pick them right every week. But enough of that.
Last week.
Enough of
Like
that.
the opposite of what you said last week.
We'll talk about it when we get there. All right.
Yeah, save it for later.
All right. So Sunday night football. Not the biggest, barn burner of the year, but we get Jets at Las Vegas. Jets coming in at 4-4. Raiders sitting at 4-5. Had the big win last week. Was it 30-6 over the Giants?
30-6. Yep, they gave them a big old whomping.
Antonio Pierce, having them playing inspired. But the Jets defense is a whole other beast when compared to the Giants, who are getting shellacked right now.
Yeah, they are.
What are you guys looking forward in this game?
What am I looking for or looking forward to?
Bit of both.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next Sunday night matchup, whatever that is, because it can't be worse than this. And I'm looking forward to seeing if the Raiders can continue their Antonio Pierce magic. And just, RJ, major props. Your Josh McDaniels takes have been on point for years now. And I have to admit that he is a worse coach than Brandon Staley. I think we've already established that on multiple shows now since he's been fired. But vibes are looking good in the Raiders locker room. Devontae Adams looks happy. Who's their rookie quarterback? The stash?
Aiden O'Connell.
What were his stats for the last game? Let me pull them up real quick. I didn't watch the game last week because who did? Unless you're a Giants or Raiders fan. But he was 16-25. He didn't throw a touchdown or pick, but that's part of it. Not making the turnover-worthy plays, which Garoppolo I think is top 5 in turnovers this year. Also didn't take any sacks, so credit to him. Of course, the offensive line, but that goes to the quarterback too. So I am looking forward to watching him play. He doesn't look like somebody who. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback, but he just the times I have seen him play, he looks good.
He's out of Purdue. He's got a good build. Seems like he's fairly accurate with his delivery. He looked good in the preseason when he was playing against like backups. So, protect him and he'll help you out. Like you said, just don't make the mistakes. Let them do what they did last year. Feed Josh Jacobs and take your shots with Devontae Adams.
Yeah, now the Jets defense is a totally different beast than their New York counterparts that are the Giants. So we'll see how that goes. It's just on the other end for the Jets, Zach Wilson's some straight doo-doo.
Yeah, and they're riding with him too. They're pretty loyal to him, it seems.
Well, didn't Robert Salah have some interesting comments after the loss last week? Like,
I hope Aaron Rodgers comes back soon.
He says that every week.
How's that Achilles doing?
Yeah, well, you can talk about Aaron Rodgers too, since this is an extensive talk about the Jets. But I'm pretty sure he said a few things along the line of, like, as bad as Zach Wilson played, he said he's seen him play worse, which that just doesn't sound that good. And
you know what?
He said,
you know who the Jets had on their roster but traded him?
Who?
Any guesses?
Like who they traded this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had this quarterback on the roster, and they traded him before the season started. A backup quarterback.
An extra backup because Zach Wilson was the second
Yes,
string all offseason.
an extra backup that they traded after they got Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers.
their guy Mike White.
Mike White.
No,
That's what they traded Mike White in the offseason. Though they did.
they had
Oh, no,
another
he signed.
quarterback,
Mike White.
Josh
signed too.
Dobbs.
Oh,
They
they had
had
Josh
Josh
Dobbs.
Dobbs?
I didn't know
They
they had
traded
Josh
him. They
Dobbs.
traded him for like a 5th-round pick to the Cardinals.
So he left. Dobbs left the Titans, signed with the Jets, and then got traded.
Yep.
Twice.
Idiots! I would so much rather have Josh Dobbs than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, at the same time,
Josh
they didn't
Dobbs
really know what
balling.
they. Yeah, but they didn't really know that Josh Dobbs was going to do this. You know, he was
I mean,
pretty unproven at the time. But I would take
I mean,
him, obviously, now, hindsight 2020.
yeah, fair.
This is the difference.
But Josh
Zach-
Dobbs he played in some high leverage games for the Titans last year, and he played above Malik Willis.
This is the difference
that's
between
fair.
Zach Wilson and Josh Dobbs. Zach Wilson is the water boy when he's going slap hands, and everyone just ignores him. And then Josh Dobbs is, you remember when Bob Boucher showed up at halftime with Mud Dogs on the Bourbon Bowl and everyone goes crazy? That's the difference.
That's a great
reference.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson I feel bad for him because he's been doomed from the NFL draft when it had all the rookies line up taking a picture, and he was just like had that like weird look on his face when they were all like, yeah, it was anyway. He's one of those quarterbacks you just look at and you're like, probably not going to be that good, but yeah, that's in the past.
I mean, Zach Wilson's he's played like the entire season and he has like 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean he sucks.
So that's so nonchalantly. He sucks.
Yeah, I mean he does. I don't believe any of the hype around Aaron Rodgers coming back either.
You don't?
Like, do you really want to trust him to not re-tear it coming back?
If he re-tears it, then you draft a quarterback in the offseason.
All that peyote might be making his attendance super flexible. Who knows?
All the what?
The peyote, all the drugs he does in the offseason.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, he likes to go on those. What are they called? The what retreats?
I don't even know, but they're another hippie shit.
Yeah, I know
dark retreats or whatever they're called. Yeah. But back to this game, I tend to. I mean, the Raiders. I mean, it's only been a week of no Josh McDaniels, and the vibes are there. The Jets are coming off of a tough loss against the Chargers, a blowout actually, 27-6, and I don't know. I just have.
So I mean, in this
they're going to
game,
need a few turnovers for their defense.
The Raiders are plus 1.5. I've never been a huge Josh Jacobs guy. I think he's like an average running back. And then you're going to have Aiden O'Connell throwing against the Jets defense that, I mean, it's been a upper echelon defense for most of the season. And then similar with the Jets, I mean, if you're if you're Robert Saleh, unless you want to be the next Josh McDaniels, you say, we are going to feed the rock to Breece Hall and let our defense win the game. Because all you need to do, the last thing you need to do is let Zach Wilson like get a fumble return for a touchdown or a pick 6 to give the Raiders the game.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything, but the fact that you said Josh Jacobs is an average running back. Average running backs don't lead the league in rushing yards.
I've never been impressed by. I mean, there's been plenty of randos that have led the league in rushing.
Oh, drink that haterade. He's a beast.
I just don't think he's anything special. Who would you rather? Who's better, him or Breece Hall?
I mean, as of right now, Josh Jacobs. Breece Hall.
You would take Josh Jacobs over if I said pick a running back to build a team.
Considering the injury,
I would say that you're.
Possibly, yeah.
I would fire you and say get out of my office for trying to build a team around a running back.
Fair enough.
All right, you have an average roster. All that's missing is a running back, and I say, hey, I have 2 running
Doesn't make
backs that
sense
I can
either.
get.
An average roster, if it's an average roster, you wouldn't be just missing a running back. You'd have a few more holes than that. If you want an above average roster, and all you miss, there we maybe.
Well, I mean, I would pick Brees Hall a million times to 1 over Josh Jacobs.
Tears his ACL again. I like Brees Hall, but
yeah, I mean RJ's got a fair point. Dude, Josh Jacobs has been relatively reliable as far as availability goes, and Brees Hall's got nothing to show but missing games.
And being one of the most explosive running backs in the league.
He is. We're just going off of.
Yeah, my fantasy team. I love to watch him play, but
that's as long as Brees Hall's been around.
I can't with you too.
Josh Jacobs has been in the league 5 years now.
Josh Jacobs is a. I can pull like 40 college running backs right now and get a Josh Jacobs.
I call bullshit.
What is your gut feelings for the Jets and Raiders?
I think Jets game to lose.
I think the Raiders are coming off of a little bit of a high after that big win last week. And Robert Saleh, I think he is hoping that he can keep the Jets afloat until Aaron Rodgers gets healthy to maybe make a run. So I think he, plays a safe game and the Jets, walk away. 13-9. Jets.
That is rather low. I think if the Jets get 2+ turnovers on the Raiders, if the Jets win the turnover battle by 2 or more, they win the game. If they don't, I think the Raiders will win the game. I think that the Raiders. Hang on, let me check something really quick here. Make sure I'm not just spitting false facts. I'm pretty sure that the Jets' run defense hasn't. I don't want to say incorrect things here. I'm not sure. Anyways, it pretty much comes down to turnovers for me. I just don't. Zach Wilson's not that good. They need to rely on their defense to win. Their 3-game winning streak, it was mostly on the back of their defense against the Broncos, Eagles, and Giants. That is the Jets. And, the Raiders, whether their coach situation is what it is, and they have a young quarterback playing now, but they still have Josh Jacobs. They still have Devontae Adams. They still have Max Crosby on defense, so they have guys.
I pulled it up. The Jets have the 30th ranked run defense,
so it's garbage.
But the Raiders are 31st.
That was going to be my point. If I could find the correct stats for the Jets, that Brees Hall and it could come down to the defenses or turnovers. I'm not even the defenses, but the turnovers, and then the running backs on each side. I'm going to go Raiders 20, Jets 14.
It's a lot of touchdowns.
I'm going to say the Raiders get a lot of field goals. 1 touchdown. What would that be? 4 field goals?
20?
Yeah. Or is that even possible?
They have to go for
7
2
points. 7 points, 10 points, 13 points. Okay, 21-14.
That doesn't add up either.
What are you talking? 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 14.
22-14. All right. All right.
Field goal fiesta.
Going Raiders 17, Jets 10.
What's going on in the Washington game?
Well, Geno Smith had a check down, and Kenneth Walker took it 64 yards for a touchdown, and then Sam Howell.
God.
We're driving, and Sam Howell gets a QB. It was like I think I looked down, and he was already starting to run. I don't know if it was a read option or what. Gets the first down, fumbles instead of going to the ground. They just ripped the ball out of his hands. So trash and more trash per usual. Giants scored a touchdown against the Cowboys. Whoa.
Also, the Chargers and
yeah, it was 24-24 last I saw that.
Damn. Lions score.
Jamin Davis did just make Kenneth Walker his baby back bitch, but we won't have to talk about that any further. Jamin Davis has been playing lights out this year.
Yeah, he's having a nice little resurgence. Yeah, okay, so we're split. I like the Jets. You two like the Raiders.
Raiders, yep.
Fans of the show know where to put their money.
Probably the only time I've liked the Raiders this year.
Yeah, it's just because the Jets are going to end up shooting themselves in the foot and losing the game. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
All right.
This is an egregious hold. Damn. 3rd and 17.
We ended up getting some decent games today. I didn't love the matchups coming in, but especially the I'm referring to, a Sunday night game like this is just
doo-doo.
Tough ones to watch.
So they thought they were going to have. They thought they were going to have. Thought they were going to have Aaron Rodgers. The Jets have been getting all these good games. It feels like.
Even if they had Aaron Rodgers, they're playing the Raiders.
The
Raiders were not supposed to be good at all.
Yeah, you think they'd have a better flex schedule to be able to flex these games if certain teams end up being
the NFL Network, they love Jimmy G. They wanted to see his picture on national cover.
They do love Jimmy G.
Yeah, I guess they didn't know he was going to be injured. They should have known.
Did he get hurt or he got benched?
Benched, hurt, it's all the same.
Yeah, same thing.
No, it's not.
His ego got hurt.
They were going to say,
"Hey, sure it did."
No, they said.
I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo has an ego, to be honest.
They said, "We need you to take a fall." What do you mean? We need you to take a fall, pushing on the stairs. Jimmy had an accident. He's gonna miss the rest of the season.
Or Josh McDaniels just did something dirty on the way out.
Tanya Hardington.
I'm gonna release those tapes if you don't go down with me.
It's your fault. You ruined my career.
I trusted you, Jimmy.
Oh! Another thing. I saw a tweet last week of what's the Raiders owner's first name? Davis.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis with the fresh cut.
I did not see that.
Yeah, no bowl cut.
I wonder if somebody finally just told him, like, "Hey Mac, time to cut that shit off."
Yeah, let me check. I think it was last week. I Google Mark Davis. The first thing that comes up is Mark Davis haircut. Jeez. His hair is rough. I'm pretty sure I saw a video of him walking out last week with a new haircut. Checking.
Did it have a fade?
Yeah, honestly, just a clean haircut.
A normal haircut?
Yeah, not the... Oh, here it is. Honestly, it's the bowl, but he got the ear. It looks like he's got the ears and the neck tapered, and then the bowl bangs are gone. So it's just like he got the sports clip special, which is better than a bowl cut. If you're a billionaire, you can get the sports clip special and look good.
That haircut was something else. I
wonder who told him that was.
I feel like they said you need to look.
Is that a billionaire flex to be walking around with a haircut like that?
No, that's not a flex for anybody.
Yeah, he just doesn't care too. At the same time, he's like,
unless your childhood nickname was bowl cut and you're just holding on to it. Real quick, we got a comment on our video on our post about the Emmanuel Forbes ejection.
Yep.
So the guy said, I said, should this be an ejection? And the guy said, yes. He led with a stiffened upper body, neck, and head. There's no place in the NFL for that kind of intentional helmet-to-helmet contact. Time for the refs to uphold the rules. This was intentional and would upset the rhythm of the offense and affect the game without a star player.
That take is going to upset the rhythm of my night.
Yeah, no, I mean, Lockett puts his head down. Forbes was literally running straight. It was incidental contact, and he gets ejected. Like, I can understand the helmet-to-helmet call because helmet's touched. The call's fine, but to eject him is just stupid. The refs are morons. The NFL refs prove it time and time again. They don't know what they're doing.
That looked like it was like some college targeting type call.
Maybe if Tyler Lockett wasn't such a midget, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
I just think
it didn't even look like that bad of a hit in the replay.
If it's
the helmet's touched. They touched.
I think in live action, live play, not slow mode, if it is a bang bang, helmet to helmet part of the game, penalty, yeah, it's definitely a penalty. But the ejection, for me, it has to be egregious, like Kareem Jackson stuff.
Yeah, and Tyler Lockett came right back into the game. He didn't have a concussion. He was completely fine.
Or earlier today, Ronnie Stanley's hit on Denzel Ward. Did you see that one?
The game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he was making a tackle, and like Ronnie ran out of nowhere and like dove at him straight helmet to helmet and like knocked him out the game.
All right, I watched the replay a couple times now. The actual replay and like the replay of the play as it happened from like how you live. See it. Yeah. Still not ejectable in my opinion. 100% helmet to helmet, and a little bit more poor form from Forbes than I initially thought, but still not even close to being ejected. That's just
okay.
It's so a mixture of him slightly like leading with his head a little bit, but it looked like he was trying to wrap up still with his arms, and then Tyler Lockett also like trying. Also, not
Tyler
to forget,
really drops down like this.
Have you guys seen like Tyler Lockett's notoriously like a possession catcher in Madden? Yeah. Like he catches the ball and drops. It's like his thing. Yeah. He does not take hits. Like watch the replays. You can watch hours of it. Like just he catches it, he'll turn around and he'll just drop if there's guys coming at him, which I don't blame him for. He's a really good receiver.
But when you lower your body, you're more likely for that contact to happen.
So even more likely that, you know. So.
Well, before we can move on,
either way.
For me, the perfect example of an ejection for a helmet to helmet was like Kyle Hamilton. Receiver was airborne, making the catch, and you leap off your feet straight up,
lower your shoulders,
and go helmet to helmet.
Extend your head. Yep.
Yeah. The Kareem Jackson ejected when he
he got suspended.
He got ejected twice, and he got suspended on the fourth time.
I can't remember because we played the Broncos. Or Washington played the Broncos and won. That was the same game. It was 2 weeks. That was the second game in a row. He had a hit like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember if he got ejected or not. I'm like, if not, it's kind of bullcrap. You're doing it to Forbes when it was clearly not nearly as egregious.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next primetime game. So Monday Night Football, we have the Broncos at Buffalo to take on the Bills. Let me pull up this game. The Broncos are coming in at 3-5. The Bills coming in at 5-4. Buffalo is surprisingly 7-point favorites. The Broncos are on a 2-game win streak with a pretty big win over the Chiefs, while the Bills are coming off of a loss to the Bengals from last week. Was that last week's Sunday Night Football?
The Cincinnati Bengals loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, so I'm a little surprised with the 7 points, to be honest.
It's a little rich. Denver's defense, as you mentioned, played really well against the Chiefs, held them to 9 points. They're actually for the last month or the last couple coming into this game, the previous 3 weeks they did pretty good. They played the Chiefs, held the Chiefs to 19, then Packers 17, then Chiefs 9. So they've kind of settled things down defensively since the Miami Dolphins put a 70 piece on them.
Yeah.
And then also the Bills have been struggling on offense.
So here's my take for this game. Of course, the Bills are the better team. No one would really, I don't think, argue that. But their defense is kind of in shambles. Let me check the injury report. So, Matt Milano's out. Micah Hyde's out. Tre'Davious White's out. That's 2 big cornerstones to your defense. Offensively, we say this every week. The Bills' offense is just so up and down. They kind of go for broke every other play, it seems like. The Broncos have Patrick Surtain. He's one of the best corners in the league. I thought last year you could make the argument that he was the best corner in the league last year. Strap him up on Stephon Diggs, right? I'm not saying he blankets Diggs, but let's say he holds Diggs to like 3 for 40. What else are you really afraid of? Like, don't let Gabe Davis catch a couple bombs. James Cook has hardly done anything in the running game lately.
Yeah, Gabe Davis is due for a 20-plus point week, so everybody watch out. Because he had 0 points last week, so.
That's risky business there. I know your relationship with Gabe Davis. To piggyback off what you were, to piggyback off what you were saying, Taylor, I was thinking before you started saying all that could the Broncos essentially mimic, could the rest of the league mimic or play a similar defense on the Chiefs and Bills? Shade over to Diggs similarly like they did Travis Kelce. Both the Chiefs and the Bills have similar issues this year. Each team has a really good quarterback with an extremely talented arm. But aside from the number one option to go to, they haven't gotten a ton of help from receivers and the rest of the Chiefs receivers and then the Bills, everybody else. And neither team loves to run the ball with the quarterbacks they have. Of course, the Broncos defense is a little stronger at this point than the Bills, which are dealing with injuries. But could the Broncos replicate just what they did last week to the Chiefs? And I don't know. I think this would be a good opportunity for the Jets or the Bills to try their best to change things up and lean more on James Cook. We talked about it last week. Their offensive coordinator already should be on thin ice. And if they come out tomorrow night and put up another stinker and lose, something's got to give.
Yeah, and I don't really have faith in Russell Wilson, so I'm not expecting the Broncos to come out here and beat the Bills. Like if I was putting money on it, I just think it can be close. If the Broncos ride Javonte Williams, you ask the Broncos receivers to make a couple plays, such as Maybe Jerry Judy can get open somewhere. What's their other receiver? The rookie Marvin Mims, the fast guy. Maybe he breaks a big play or so. And and that might be all you need because the Bills have shown Diggs is like what's keeping the Bills offense alive right now. He in their wins, he's making plays, finding ways to get into the end zone, breaking tackles, dragging, spinning around, and whatnot. So if the Broncos can take him away, it makes this game very interesting.
Yeah, and for the Broncos, like you mentioned, Javonte Williams, they leaned on him heavily last week with 27 carries. Didn't have a ton of yards, but just having that, you're sticking to it, you're wearing down the defense, and then Russell Wilson was able to be, relatively efficient. He didn't have a ton of yards, but he had the 3 touchdowns and didn't have any turnovers. So if they can, if the Broncos can replicate exactly what they did to the Chiefs, they could. I don't know how many teams they can beat that are like hitting on all cylinders, but a struggling Bills defense, I could see it. I think it's for sure going to be a closer game than the. I don't know. It could be a closer game than the 7-point spread, or the Bills could do what they've done all year and score 35, and the Broncos score like 14. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see what the over under is.
It
is 47 and a half. Yeah, I think it's hitting under on this game for sure.
I think, because if Denver wins, I think it's going to be low scoring. If Buffalo wins, it's probably going to be a one-sided blowout.
Yeah. I'm still going to take the Bills. Yeah, I know their offense is in shambles, but I know more often than not, I can trust their offense to show up. And like RJ or whatever one of you said, the Bills can randomly go and put 45 points up on you. The Broncos, because of the regression of Russell Wilson, the Broncos just can't do that.
Yeah, now I did say that, but the Bills, since they put up 48 on the Dolphins, haven't scored 30 in a game. So after the first, they had 3 weeks in a row of 35 plus points, and then the last 5 weeks haven't scored more than 30. 29, they haven't scored over 30 or more. But I think it's not a divisional game. Sorry, that was the Chiefs Broncos. But the Bills have a tough stretch of games after this, really the rest of the season. So this is one of those games that they need to come out with. They have the Jets next week, then the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys is a really tough 3-game stretch. Then they have the Chargers in LA. Then they have New England, which is a divisional game, is always hard, and then at Miami to end of the year. We talked about that last week too. That Miami game could be a win and in, or lose and go home. Couldn't think of anything. So I'm gonna lean towards the Bills for this game as well, just solely on the fact I don't think the Bills are going to change anything offensively, and like James Cooks is going to have 30 carries for 120 yards. I think it's just Josh Allen's going to pull one out.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate. I don't like the Bills' offense. I don't really see much changing. They're going to struggle with, but the Broncos. This Russell Wilson experiment's just been a complete and utter failure for many reasons, and I just don't see them, upsetting Josh Allen.
Yes. Yeah, James Cook only had 6 carries last week. Josh Allen had 8. Of course, some of those could be scramble plays that are called pass plays, but James Cook's got to have more, and that was a close game against the Bengals.
Yeah.
He's got to have at least 15. Just to set the tone. Maybe they should do. I haven't watched a ton of Bills games, like every single play, just highlights. But I'm sure Josh Allen could use like a little bit of RPO misdirection type stuff. I don't know how much RPO they run, if at all. It doesn't seem like they do. But that could open things up for not only him, but the run game as well. But their offense coordinator doesn't have it in him.
RJ, who do you like in this game?
I'm gonna go Bills.
Bills Mafia.
Broncos are too inconsistent.
Fair enough.
A game of inconsistencies.
So we all three took the Bills?
Yes.
All right, so they're going to win for sure. Everyone knows it.
Uh-huh.
The pod has spoken. Moving on. We are going to recap our blocks for the week and see how collectively we did. So if we want to start with our starts of the week, anybody want to go first?
Well, we can't do RJ's because he picked James Cook.
Sorry.
So you avoid the chopping block for now.
Well, the Broncos defense, man, it is what it is.
I'll go first then. I'll step up to the plate. So my start was DeAndre Hopkins, who unfortunately finished with 3 catches for 27 yards. He was targeted quite often, as I thought he would be. But 2 things. The Buccaneers, after about the first drive, realized the Titans' O-line was garbage. So they started sending all-out blitzes. So Will Levis had no time to actually make a good throw. And it seemed like DeAndre Hopkins was all just running streaks down the sideline. So Carlton Davis basically just had to stay on top of him, which he did a pretty good job of. Not a great game plan. So I had to miss. I will say when I did my picks, I said Hopkins and Mike Evans.
I told you to choose, though.
And I was forced to pick one, and I picked Hopkins, so I will stand by that. But Mike Evans had like 25 fantasy points.
Well, anybody who saw the post didn't know that, and they went with Hopkins, and they lost this week because of you.
Okay, well, let's see your start, sir.
Mike Evans did have an egregious drop in the end zone.
He made up for it.
He did. But that's one thing. Yeah, my pick was Drake London. The game is still ongoing, but at this point,
he's had an insane catch.
He has 6.5 fantasy points. This is a typical Atlanta offense. Drake London, he usually leads their team in targets. I mean, I think he's averaging over 12 or 10 targets a game. He was out last week with Tyler Heineke's first start. I thought Tyler Heineke would be good for him.
He got knocked out.
He got knocked out today.
Taylor Heineke, not Tyler Heineke, you fuck.
Nose is nasally. Taylor sounds same. Yeah, he got knocked out. Desmond Ridder came in. As soon as Desmond Ridder came in, they did the read option. Ridder ran it in for a touchdown in the end zone. So, you know, the biggest handicap for Drake London is Arthur Smith. Bijan Robinson, you know, everybody knew he was going to get 22 carries for 95 yards today and a touchdown. I don't know. I thought against Arizona and that defense, Drake London could get you 8 catches. You know, 8 catches for whatever. I don't care how many yards it is. That's decent in a PPR format. And I try not to pick the obvious choices. And this one, it's ongoing. Maybe he'll catch a touchdown to win the game. But with a minute and a half left, and Arizona has the football, He is currently barely even a good flex with 6.5 points.
Didn't you not even start
that
him in
is
your
full
own fantasy
PPR.
lineup?
We don't need to tell the people this. I'm going to edit this out because I have that power.
All right, let's
Listen, if you got a deep team like me, I had people. Listen, now I got to defend myself. I had Jamar Chase. I had Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, and Tank Dell. Now, those should be obvious choices to start. But if you have Drake London and you're like, and you don't have the depth I do at receiver, you're more so teetering, then he should have been a good pick. I hope James Cook scores 2 points.
But at least I started him in 2 leagues.
I started James Cook too. I did.
It's just funny. It's good content. Come on now. All right.
I never said I
so
wasn't.
let's move on to the sits.
Sits, Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought you said you had to take. Never mind.
RJ, who's your sit for the week?
Well, my sit, I think, worked out pretty well. I mean, he had 7 points. It was George Pickens. So not a complete bust, but 7 points isn't good for a starting wide receiver. So I think that's a hit.
Deontay Johnson's been vacuuming up the targets in Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
And Kenny Pickett, I think, has not even gotten to 20 touchdowns in his career yet.
He has not.
So solid sitter there.
All right, not bad. Mine of the week was Jonathan Taylor. He was horribly inefficient. He had 24 touches for 70 yards. He did get like a 1-yard touchdown.
He really tried to dumb it down. He got me 14 fantasy points today, sir, and that is a quality start.
14, yes. Well, PPR, it's 14.
PPR.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't gonna take it. I was just saying that
it was the way you were wording it.
It was just it was just
barely scraped the touchdown in off of 70 yards.
I mean,
motion, efficiency.
Well, this okay. let me paint the picture for you. Being a Titans fan and a Derrick Henry supporter, I've had to hear for the last 2 years from Colts fans going, "Oh, King Henry, who? Jonathan Taylor is way better." Blah 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 blah. Well, Jonathan Taylor got fed the ball 25 times and hardly did anything and got whooped by the sorry Patriots.
Yeah, we should now. If you're watching this and you're in like a amateur fantasy league that doesn't even have 12 teams, these might not be these might be you know.
Maybe we should say
picks.
that this is for 12-team league PPR leagues.
Yeah, 12-team leagues.
Our recommendations.
Yes, exactly. So Jonathan Taylor, really not a great game for his draft, his draft value being a first round pick in most formats.
Well, he's actually slipped in a lot because remember his whole uncertainty with the contract and all that stuff. He slipped in most of what I saw.
He slipped. Like it depends on when you drafted.
Yeah,
depends on when you drafted. But it depends on your league still. I mean, he had 14 points or whatever. So in competitive leagues, you will take that. In some leagues, that's maybe not as good for you, but we'll say that's a miss for Westside. He's not looking too good here.
And Zach Moss owners also, it's not looking too good either on that end.
Should have sold high on that.
At first they were splitting. Yeah,
I would have sold high on that after like week 2 or 3.
Yeah.
All right, my sit of the week is still ongoing, but it's looking pretty legit. I'm sure he'll score a touchdown coming up in the next 8 minutes, but I picked Terry McLaurin. He's currently sitting at 3.5 fantasy points with 2 catches for 14 yards.
They've been locking him down.
PPR. That is full PPR. He has 6 targets, which is actually tied with 2 other players on the Commanders. Brian Robinson has 6 targets. Curtis Samuel has 6 targets. A lot of players eating into the targets today. Logan Thomas has 4. Antonio Gibson has 4. Jahan Dotson has 1. It's unfortunate because I started him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's bad. But yeah, Terry McLaurin. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Washington. They love to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah. Brian Robinson has
but
over 100 yards receiving as a running back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he had a big yard screen or whatever it was reception.
He had 2 of the same play actually, but yeah.
Yeah, but Seattle's got 2. They got tough guys on the outside on defense. They have Weatherspoon and Tariq Woolen. Is Quandre Diggs playing this year? Is he still hurt? Yeah, he's in. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So they have a tough secondary to go against. Even though the defense can be hit or miss sometimes, it is tough. Pass defense.
Because of fantasy, I can see that Sam Howell just scored a touchdown to not Tam McLaurin, but then I see in the video it's Antonio Gibson, who I benched again. I started him last week and then benched him this week. I should have started him again. He's got 14 points.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, Terry McLaurin, that was my sit. It's looking like that
Still
was probably
good.
the right call.
Yeah. Looks like we have a tie game in Seattle, 19-19.
Who was your sit, RJ?
He did his first.
Yeah, George Pickens.
Oh, you're right. My bad. All right.
You're good.
Well, now moving on to our lock of the week.
Well, I called this one.
Ooh.
I'll go first. Get mine out of the way.
I think I have
my
all
lock
the
of the week.
today.
My lock of the week is still going. It was Dallas minus 17.5 over the Giants. Really the easiest take of the week, in my opinion. They beat the Giants 40-0 in week 1. The only thing that's changed between now and then is that the Giants are worse, and they're losing 42-7. So paint
now
that picture however
tomorrow.
you want. You're still gonna have a bad painting.
Tomorrow, we're going to hear about how amazing Dak Prescott is with 5 touchdowns.
The Giants are the worst. He has 4 touchdowns. Does he have a rushing touchdown?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Feast on the bad teams. They've been doing it all year. That's been their MO. I'm not going to get into that. We'll save that for tomorrow.
The fire was coming.
all that this is about right now, the only thing that matters right now is that I was right and Dallas covered the spread.
All right.
We don't have to talk anything else about the Cowboys.
All right. Well, we can go to mine. I can't remember what the spread was. I got to double check that. +3. Yeah. All right. I had the Jaguars +3 against the Niners. Jags were on a nice little win streak. 49ers were on a 3-game losing streak. And the Jags got just completely dragged. 34-3. Trevor Lawrence, 2 interceptions, a 48 rating, 17 of 29. No one got going. Christian Kirk had 100 yards receiving, but if you want to say that was the high point, he did fumble the ball and lost it, so even he screwed up. But yeah, 34-3. I've been saying,
call. It was a tough call there.
I've been saying for a while I was hating on the Jags, and you guys are always saying, man, you have a lot of hatred for them. Because I've been saying they're fraudulent, and their best win was against the Bills in London, which should have had an asterisk by it. But,
we don't do asterisks here. Win's a win.
Well, I started drinking that Jags Kool-Aid for some reason, and they burned me. They burned me bad, and I'll never fall for it again.
Yeah, I thought that was a tough pick. San Fran coming off the bye, 3 losses in a row. I thought that was a tough spread to cover for the Jaguars.
My thought process was the Jaguars defense has been a little underrated, and Brock Purdy had been looking like not Brock Purdy. So I was like, human Brock Purdy versus an underrated defense. 49ers a win, but the Jags offense should be enough to keep it close. And this is what we got, a 31-point win.
Yep. Bad beat.
Yep. What about you, RJ?
Mine was the Commanders +6 over the Seahawks.
I actually changed to 5.5.
Oh, even better. I thought they wouldn't lose by more than a field goal if they lost was my main thought process, not more, not that they would 100% win this game or anything. It was more about just the spread itself. And it's looking like they could cover. Obviously, the game's still going on. We got to see what the Seahawks do. If they win by a touchdown, then it doesn't cover. My apologies. But if they win by a field goal. And
I thought it was good. It's looking good right now. I thought it was a good pick too. Washington and Seattle, not that it matters with what, how the current teams are built, but they've historically played each other tough.
There's some history,
and, Washington has covered the spread the last 3 times they've played. Like I said, take that how you will. The teams are completely different over the years, but the betting gods, maybe you want to take that sometimes. So,
but I feel like they're similar, like talent teams in different aspects. Obviously, the Seattle secondary is better than ours. When it comes to overall talent level, though, I feel like we're in the same ballpark. Especially with Sam Howell emerging as what looks to be, or at least our starting quarterback for the next few years. Just how Seattle found Geno when he was arrived, on his comeback train.
Yep.
But not a bad pick. We'll see what the next 7 minutes hold.
7 minutes left in that game. We'll see how that pick turns out, but looks good for now.
Brian Robinson has 27 fantasy points.
30.
And I guess this depends on the league.
In full PPR.
Yeah. Yep. Looking
All
good.
right. So that does it for our locks, our picks of the week. Hopefully you rode with RJ this week, seeing how he's looking like a 3-0-er.
See what James Cook does.
Yeah. Anything else y'all wanted to add on the show?
That'll do it.
All righty. Well, that does it for today's episode of No Interference. We are your host, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. This is our Week 10 pre-primetime coverage, if you will. As always, thank you for watching and tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Follow us on social media at The NI Show. We are on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. But once again, thank you for tuning in. That does it for today. So adios.
See ya.
Peace. So I was watching this play.